that is something to look at. So it's possible that you could have 3 vacancies to fill.
We will have 3 vacancies to fill because whoever we fill in here is only going to be like this, like purple thing.
Mm-hmm.
And whoever is like how I came in at the end, they're going to be orange, like how I'm orange.
They showed you how the now live streamed. Lynette, if you need to, you can use the chat function. If you need to speak up if they're having difficulty with any of your sound. If you want to call the meeting to order.
All right. It is currently 6:06, and I will call the meeting to order. I'm here in person. Arlene is in person. Lynette is Zoom. Melanie is here. Andrea Nicolay should be joining us later. She's at a neighborhood association meeting.
Yep, she's presenting virtually at a neighborhood association. She'll be in once she completes that.
Do we need to have?
Nope, that's it.
Okay.
You called it to me.
Okay, perfect. Look at that, checking things off my first agenda. Without not knowing what I'm doing.
That's okay.
We walk you through this. Here.
Perfect, thank you. So was there any public comment?
There was no public comment.
Finished business. I know that when we talked last, we talked a lot to encourage people to run, but I listed us as having, that is something we'll, address was like for this new election. And then we can just jump right into trustee vacancy, unless anyone has finished business. Here, none. So we currently have a trustee vacancy. I'm aware of that. Tom has left, and we have. Can you hear me if I look at my papers, Lynette? Angle myself this way so I'm not mumbling at her. So Lynette, you should have in your email sent us this, I'll zoom it in for you, this chart of who we've got running when. APL staff was nice enough to make us hard copies here. So we have a vacancy, which is Tom, and it is covering October, November through May, which is when we have the election, as a position that we will need to fill. And then the remainder of Tom's term going through June of 25 is going to be done by the runner-up sort of person in the election, which is similar to me. I came in, I don't know, third or fourth, and got the short term.
So let me be clear. The person that we recruit would be serving the balance of Tom's term?
Only until June.
Only until June. And then they would have to run for office. They would have to seek office.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, essentially the vacant position serves until the next election.
Okay.
Period. And then that person
serves the balance of
serves the balance. Yep.
Okay.
Because this is, I feel like we're going to blink and June's going to be here. is a very short time. And I think we should be cognizant of as we're going into these things, someone in, because, you know, it takes some time to get your bearings and footing. And, you know, whoever this is just going to have to like jump in and run.
Mhm.
And I don't think will have the benefit of the leisurely time to learn, because by the time they do, their term will be over.
Well, we probably need to do some coaching. You know, we will need to do some coaching.
Okay. Is that that's a good idea. Coaching trustee. Do you picture that as like having someone like specifically that can like take them under their wing?
Well, the first thing would be they should go through the board training with Papa Hudson, okay? Because those guys will be able to take them through what it means to be a trustee, introduce them to our bylaws, their roles, all of that stuff. So they will get that orientation through them. And then my suggestion would be we should design a strategy for bringing them up to on point in terms of where we are with things that we're working on. And they would have opportunity to have a committee assignment. Okay.
Would committee assignment be taking over Tom's committees, or would executive committee need to potentially reassess?
Well, what committees did Tom serve on?
He was on facilities with me, and that is all I know.
Okay.
Let me-
Well, that would be good. You know, so between the orientation to the board and serving on that committee, I don't know anything else.
When I joined, Melanie had made me a binder of like all library things, which is
Okay.
They would get that binder as well.
very
Okay.
nice.
Tom had served on the facilities committee and audit and finance. So this person would potentially fill that role as well.
That would be a nice learning opportunity for them.
Okay.
So we can make that recommendation.
So, in your opinion and experience, it is less necessary to get a former trustee as opposed to a person from the election.
Well, what we did the last time was try to honor the process in terms of to honor the process with regard to what the voters wanted. And so
Okay.
that's what we tried to do. It was
I like that
it was
phrasing.
it was also a blessing for us at the time because Donna had been a former trustee. So that was easy, but that's how she got
And I think
selected.
that's probably part of where my muddling of this is coming from.
Yeah, but we would be, if we were able to get someone in, even for the short term, from the election process, we would be honoring, I think, the choices of the voters. And if the next person on the list was one to be selected, it would be the first time in my memory that we ever had a Hispanic person serve on the board. And that would be good because we've been talking as part of, you know, what we've been talking about in terms of inclusion,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So,
I made a similar point talking to Andrea.
and a male at that. So, that would be good for diversity and inclusion if we did that.
Lynette, do you have any thoughts that you want to share with us?
Can she hear
She's-
what we're saying?
She says she's having a difficult time hearing.
Oh, okay. Maybe we can bring the computer closer.
Sorry, got all the cord dropped up.
Right. If we move it closer like this, does this better? No, I don't hear you at all.
This is something we could do with the volume.
Yeah. We heard her originally, but it was breaking up a little bit.
Yeah. Should we type like the brief highlights of our discussion in so Lynette can follow? I could we could give her my phone number and she could call us.
Are you able to call in, Lynette, with the phone number that's available?
Welcome.
Okay, she's gonna try to call in.
Okay.
So we covered that there was no public comment and
All right, progress.
that we said that there was no unfinished business and reviewed this pretty document that Melanie
Isn't it
made.
pretty? That's very pretty.
Yes, thank you.
Is there a copy that I can? Thank you.
And we're discussing our options.
Great.
And we talked about how there's a very short time for this person and getting them up and
I'm
running
sorry.
quickly. Oh, we hear you. Or
We did.
She's got something in the chat.
yeah. Just she will try to call in. Should I click the mute thing on Lynette?
It won't. She can only. Oh, does it?
It says ask to unmute.
Yeah, she was the only one who can unmute herself.
Oh, here we go. All right.
Okay, so she did respond a couple bit.
So yeah, well, and that's the thinking about someone who has been here before is part of the discussion. Arlene had brought up the point with the election results that is, I wrote down her words, honoring the process, which I thought was a lovely way of saying it, and the wills and desires of the voters. I like that. I like the idea and of bringing folks of staying true to that. My concern was about onboarding in such a short period of time, but Arlene talked about how we can have, us coaching them as well as the Upper Hudson training, and that we can design a strategy to help onboard them, which makes a lot of sense to me. And I think I didn't bring my bylaws, but I think that falls in our purview as well. So we're not hearing you talking anymore. Lynette, can you still hear us?
What about calling in?
She did call in.
Did she?
I
She said
thought-
she was going to try, but it didn't show
Oh.
her because it would show up as a secondary.
Oh,
If she
Well,
actually.
she could just,
She could just
talking on the phone.
She could just call my, we could put her on speakerphone.
Yeah.
can you call Andrea? And she'll put you on speakerphone.
Did she hang up?
We still live streaming.
I think so. This will be a
Yeah.
riveting live stream for the people out there in
Yeah.
YouTube land.
Oh, definitely. Did we, did I just hear a phone buzz?
That was Dorothy.
Oh. Okay.
Dorothy's at the house. I'm sure things are fine.
Oh, okay.
Probably just looking for like dinner.
There she is.
Hi, Trustee Robinson. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Oh, fantastic.
I'm so sorry. Zoom is driving me insane.
Well, I'm glad that we have you.
Yes, I'm here.
So I
So
think
I heard where you guys were with having, we are very female heavy on the board. I do like the idea of having a male on the board. I also was thinking about what if we got someone who was here or, but had already sat on the board.
so. Apparently, because I'm doing this sort of thing where I'm filling in the last of someone's term, and the person that covered the vacancy before me, they went through and she was the next one in the elections, but they were lucky in that she had previously served.
Okay,
So they were able to get both in one fell swoop.
right. So have we considered those people? Anyone who we know? I know there's just like maybe 2 or 3 that I know of, but like have we ever considered those?
Are we talking about the list of vote? I'm just asking. I'm asking sort of as an open question. Are we talking about the list that was sent out of all the votes? The vote
I
getters?
think that Lynette is asking about the pool of previous trustees out there in the community.
Oh, okay, got it.
Is that
Yes,
correct?
Right, not a list. Yes, just those who are in our community who have served on the board.
Got it.
Are there
I mean, like,
legal?
so, go Go ahead, Sarah.
Are there legal things with that? Like if we were to just appoint someone as opposed to going with elected?
No, my understanding is that the board needs to, I'm sorry, I'm not yelling, I'm just trying to.
No,
No, yes, thank you, so I can hear.
Sure. My understanding is that the board can vote to appoint, to fill out the term. When the election comes around, that's obviously a different story, but it's totally legal to appoint someone, and it can be anyone the board chooses to appoint. It doesn't have to be a former trustee. It doesn't have to be someone who got votes. It can be anyone the board decides on.
You can even solicit, so you can ask people to like potentially apply, because I know some libraries have done that before. They're like, we need to have a vacancy.
Yeah, I think Bethlehem just did that.
Yeah, Guilderland did it last year.
Okay.
So
that's another option. That obviously would take more time.
Yeah.
Because now you've been, you've had a vacancy for a little while now. I know that you're eager to bring someone forward at the November meeting. So
it's my hope.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of cancels out that idea of soliciting, although it's an interesting option to.
Well, the thing is that if we looked at the people who ran, who ran, and, we could work that list. So we could go to the next one that follows the next vote getter, highest vote getter, and see if they're available.
That would be Mr. Velasquez.
Yes, and travel that list. So that could be another way of doing it. As I said, it would be a way of honoring the voters if we did that. And the thing about the onboarding was Upper Hudson provides training to new trustees. And that would be where I would recommend we would start, would be they get that orientation. So, but
So for our options, soliciting, it sounds like a cool idea, probably not a proper official meeting word, but
hey, you're the chair. You get to make those decisions.
But timing wise, because I do think that it is important that this board be a full board as soon as possible for this short period. Because the longer it takes us, the less impact this new person will potentially have as well. So, all right, so we're going to say solicit it, but no, because
well, what do you recommend, Sarah?
I like reaching out down the voter list. I like the staying with the will of the voters. I remember Mr. Velasquez's talk at Meet the Candidate Forum, and he was the only one of us that said he went to the library every day.
Yeah, we can attest to that. He's well known here and at Arbor Hill West Hill.
And like we have lots of trustee call outs where people are there's minimal things. So having an active person would be good. The next person under him, Kirsten, actually lives a couple houses down from me. So I think she is not as good in the bringing in diversity because she's my neighbor and also a white lady. But she does do a lot with the Friends and Foundation, and I think would be, I think she would be a hardworking asset as well. So I think that we have options within the next, within the folks that ran. I think that people are capable, and I really do like Arlene's phrasing of honoring the process and the will of the voters. I think there's so much, this is a different sort of political tirade, but there's so much disenfranchisement of so many people that, being able to help people's votes count, and that they still are represented, even in this small way for these few months, I find to be meaningful.
And they may choose to run. They may choose to run for the election. So, that is possible too.
True.
Okay.
So we probably have contact information for all these folks, and I would be happy to share that with you, Trustee Masinski.
Lynette, do you have strong feelings about pursuing previous trustees versus the election winnings?
I just was thinking, because it's no ma'am, keep those. I was thinking that we would do people, previous trustees, just because they have the knowledge already, and if they decide to run again, then that would be something that we can discuss further.
Okay. So do we, as a committee, I believe as chair, I don't get to make motions, but are we at a place where we're comfortable about someone making a motion to pursue one avenue versus the other?
Well, it sounds like we have a split, because I would be recommending that we travel the list of the people who ran for office and go with the next vote, highest vote getter in line. So that would be my recommendation. So looks like
And
we just
we
may
would
have a vote.
And is this something that I would assume it would be better and stronger if this was a unanimous decision from the committee going forward, that this is how we want to proceed?
Well, will we not vote?
Well, I think we have to vote, but do we want to discuss further to better hear and understand each other's points of view and maybe be persuaded one way or another?
Would there be an option to have the people that we select come in to speak with us separately from the entire board?
I think it's at the will of the committee, really.
So if, say, we pick where we decide to go with the list of voters, and the first person, the next highest vote getter, says, yes, I'm available and I'm interested, we ask them to join us for the nominating committee meeting on November 1st. Is that your question?
Yes, that was good.
I guess if I'm a prospective interim trustee, I guess I might be wondering about the process, after the November 1st meeting, and how the decision is going to be made. Like this is basically like a community member doing the board a solid by stepping up for a very short term. So I wonder how it would be for the candidates to go through sort of an interview process. I just don't know. I haven't been through this before, so I'm just trying to imagine.
I think, I'm sorry, Andrea. I think
No.
that's why I would say pick someone who was previously on the board, because it's such a short space and time that having someone do something several times, I don't know, almost seems unfair. But somebody who's previously sat on the board, understands that they're just filling in the space until we get to our next, stop, if that makes sense.
Who are you recommending?
I mean, I only know one or two people who sat on the board before. I've spoken to Dr. Brenda Robinson and one other person who sat on the board just because I know her from working at the charter school, but that's about it.
Who's the other person?
Are we allowed to say names
Oh,
in open forum? Do we have?
I mean, it's
Well, if they're a past trustee, then that's all
That's
public
public
information.
record.
Yeah, that's why I was comfortable saying the name of someone who got votes earlier. So
I have a.
Lynette,
do you have a name? I'm sorry, Trustee Robinson.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to locate her name just because she works with my charter school, so I'm trying to look through my emails. As you guys know, I'm trying to do double duty, library board trustee, and I'm at a convention right now, so I'm just moving around a lot.
Okay.
Lynette, how would you feel about if we went the election route, but we had a designate, like we as a committee design or work with the Upper Hudson and the rest of the library on a solid onboarding program, so that they don't feel lost and they know who to ask questions to, so that they can, whoever it is, can get running as fast as possible.
I don't mind that process as long as it's something where somebody's not coming in brand new and not knowing, where to start, where to go to. And I know Melanie was amazing when I did my onboarding process. It's just that there's a lot of things, like we're in it, it's like jumping on a moving train. We have to be able to prepare them to, and give them the opportunity to get some of this stuff into them. And then we have to also understand that some of these people who we are looking at, like myself and you all, work full time and have a lot of other things going on. I just think that if we are doing this, we need to give them like a step-by-step program on, this is what it is.
I hear that, Trustee Robinson, and I also I also think that it will be helpful in the sense that the board has a standing agenda, right? A calendar of agenda items, and one of the things that we could do to help this person really jump on the moving train, as you put it, which is a very apt analogy, then I could, and Trustee Masinski and whomever else would be appropriate, could help this person understand where we are in the budget cycle, where we are in the planning process, what votes are coming up, so that they're not, and understand that, help them understand that they really are kind of subbing in on this very temporary basis, and that kind of also carries a different set of expectations than a full board member who's serving a full term.
Right. As long as and that sounds amazing to me. As long as it's given to them as if they know all that they're walking into and what they'll need to be able to do, in addition to knowing that this is just a temporary, like a substitute teacher,
Yeah, I think that what Andrea is talking about, I actively am jealous because I would have loved walking into something like that. This is like a quick, super crash course cheat sheet to library trustee-ness. But I think that I don't think it would be fair for us to reach out to people and offer them the position without saying how much will be expended of time. I agree with you 100% on that, and I think that when we reach out, if we reach out, would be appropriate.
I have a question about what this person is expected to do. So, I'm obviously served on several committees in addition to being a board member. Would this person automatically take the place of Tom in all committees?
Facility and audit and finance.
Yeah. So she's on facilities, and I'm thinking, finance would be a nice place for people to learn also about the process. So between the onboarding that could happen through Upper Hudson and then those two committees that have very specific responsibilities would be a good way for them to learn and maybe even think about running when, this spring. That would be good preparation for them.
Mm-hmm.
But it's possible, folk are not going to be available. We don't know until we ask questions.
Yeah, I agree with Lynette that adding, when we talk to them about availability, that they are fully aware of what it is we're asking of them and the third.
So that would be the work of November 1st. Or the next meeting that we have scheduled for the nominating committee. In between, we could inquire to see who's available, who's interested. We could invite them in and have a good conversation with them about the, about the work, give them an idea about the responsibility, because they need to know how much time they should be setting aside for committee work and all that. So we should be able to give them that information.
And I think also it's stored somewhere on the internet. There was the presentation about so you want to be a trustee. What does this actually involve?
Yes.
That would, we could dust that off as well.
Yes. We could do all those things. And if they are really interested, we could also give them contact information for Tim from Hudson to arrange the training.
But we would want to hold off on that until the whole board approves this person coming on. We say we, as nominating committee, support this person filling the vacancy, and the whole board gets to discuss it and vote on it, is my understanding. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So, but then once that's done, the very next thing is the introduction to Upper Hudson for that orientation.
Okay. So,
FYI, there is a core training scheduled for December 5th.
beautiful.
Thanks.
Okay.
All right. So our sort of tentative schedule is that we will officially have to decide if we're going down this route. I think probably has to be a motion. And then if, we do that, come up with a time frame to establish, I don't want to say a script for talking to someone, but I think we should have a clear documented, this is, these are the things that we told them, full transparency. And then reach out to them once we as the committee know this is the things that they're going to tell them. Is that correct?
Well, we should decide that because we don't have that much time,
No.
right? So I'm thinking that whatever we decide to do, we have to line it up for that next session on the first. So whoever we're going to be working with, if we're going to be traveling down the list of the people who ran for office or whatever, we have to make that decision and have everything wrapped up by the next time we meet so that we can make the recommendation to the board.
So should there be a motion to go down the candidate list?
I believe so. And I make the motion that we do that.
Is there a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
She made the motion.
All right, motion passes unanimously. I assume because this is public knowledge, well, it's out there public knowledge wise at least, that it is okay for us to throw names in.
Well, we're just working the list.
Yep.
So the next person on the list is Carlos Vasquez. And if he's not available, then it would be Kristen. And if she's not available, it would be Jean.
Yeah. And so I assume that it is as chair of nominating committee, it is my role to reach out to these folks. Is that correct?
That's my understanding, but I would be happy to, like, if you wanted to bring someone in and meet, I would be happy to join you in that meeting if it would be helpful to the committee.
Okay. So will you or someone in my library office get me contact information?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. And I will work on putting together the key points we want to make sure that people are aware of when we talk to them. I'll email it to you guys all probably tomorrow, just so we can get moving. And if, that way we all have feedback and say into it. But the key points are that it's a short term, that it is a the time commitment for both committees and overall that is available. Is that
So they may want to know about when those committees are meeting. Do we have any idea? If we don't, because it's
I can, that's
is that
Paige and Sarah Dallas, I think.
oh, okay,
I can reach out to them.
okay.
I can tell you there aren't any scheduled, so it would be something that
Yeah, easy.
And we have in board docs, or maybe in just our folder, the estimated number of times per year these committees are thought to meet, don't we?
generally
And
speaking, yeah.
I feel like I've seen a document somewhere.
Well,
but
a lot of it
things
is cyclical. Yeah.
Yeah, and also it can change. It can be dynamic depending on what's going on with a particular committee, right? So I wouldn't stress that out. I would maybe guesstimate like maybe 3 hours a month would be reasonable, I think. And maybe not even that because some committees might not be meeting.
Are you thinking 3 hours a month for committee meetings?
Committee and board.
Regular board meetings are taking a long time these
Well,
days.
that is true. But committee meetings don't take as long,
Yeah.
do they?
No.
I
So
would say
if it
like 3 nights a week, maybe, or 3 nights a month.
Ladies, I'm
That's
sorry.
just-
I'm going to have to jump off. I have to enter into another meeting.
Okay. Thank you for your help.
Absolutely. I'll look forward to your email.
All right. Thanks. Take care.
Good night.
You too. Thanks. Bye.
All right. All right. So that gives us an action plan. And then when we meet again on November 1st, we as a group can discuss whoever it is that was joining the board, and then vote for that and bring that to the November board meeting.
Will we meet them before we bring them into the November meeting?
Do we want to? We can ask them to come to
Well, we should.
the November 1st.
Well, what do you think?
I don't know. I like meeting them, but I don't want it to be an interview. I kind of want it to be like an informational session for them, because if our goal is to be true to the will of the voters, then, whether or not I like someone doesn't really relate.
Well, it's not necessarily us interviewing them. It's us being available to answer their questions.
It's giving them a chance to almost interview us.
Yes, giving them information about the role and the responsibilities, and being available to answer their questions and help them feel comfortable about the process before we introduce them to the full board.
Okay. I can certainly ask that whoever it is joins us on the 1st.
Okay.
All right. And I have other things I wanted to start talking about, establishing meetings and events coming up to the election, but I think that we'll hold off on that until we clear this hurdle, and then we jump right into that one.
Yes, because you're going to have 2 trustees.
3.
3. Okay. Oh, yes, 3. That's right. So, you know, and you want to know if anybody's going to be running again. Um, but be
Do we-
that as it may,
So we know if they're running again, but that doesn't change necessarily our
well,
procedures,
that's true. Procedure's the same.
you know, because we're still, I assume, going to have a meet the candidates forum, and
You're right. It's the same. But you also want to check to know if there's anybody else who may be thinking about leaving. You know,
yes, that's a good point.
so I guess that would be the other thing.
All right. And I do want to, like, you know, keep working on this DEI side of
Mhm.
the board, as we're encouraging people to run. I'd very much like to have someone from the LGBTQ community at least run, because it's a big part of our population that we're not representing on the board. But obviously, I can't make anybody run or not run. And so, but we can discuss those plans and strategies once we get this next person sorted out.
Okay.
All right. Do we, if we're set, I guess I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Adjourn.
Second. All in
Okay.
favor?
All right.
57.
Thank you.